Oh, howdy. You're here. I didn't hear you come in. Glad to see you. I believe it's time to set some of this aside for a moment. I was thinking back to whenever I was a lad myself. I loved to read. I would have given anything to have all these books. Of course, I probably couldn't have read all of them at that young age. But I've always loved to read. To me, I said at that time, a friend is someone who can get me a book I ain't read yet. Hang on. Y'all know about Aesop's Fables, right? Aesop, he was a man who lived many, many years ago. And of course, he's no longer among us. But we still have his stories. He would tell us short stories, little bitty stories, oftentimes with animals in them, and they would be in odd situations. And then they would work their way out of the situation somehow, and then he would have a moral or a reason for telling us the story at the end of it. Even though somebody has been gone a long time, we can still learn from them. Isn't that nice? Well, there's one about a lady carrying a pail of milk. You probably have heard something about this. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. The milkmaid and her pail. A milkmaid had been out to milk the cows and was returning from the field with the shining milk pail balanced nicely on her head. As she walked along, her pretty head was busy with plans for the days to come. This good, rich milk, she mused, will give me plenty of cream to churn. The butter I make, I will take to market, and with the money I get for it, I will buy a lot of eggs for hatching. How nice they will be when they are all hatched and the yard is full of fine young chicks. Then when May Day comes, I will sell them, and with the money, I'll buy a lovely new dress to wear for the fair. All the young men will look at me. They will come and try to speak sweetly to me, but I shall very quickly send them about their business. As she thought of how she would settle that matter, she tossed her head scornfully, and down fell the pail of milk to the ground. And all the milk flowed out, and with it vanished butter and eggs and chicks and new dress and all the milkmaid's pride. You may have heard this one, this moral at the end. Do not count your chickens before they are hatched. And how many times have we all done this? Far too many, I'm sure. Here's one about some mice and a cat. The mice once called a meeting to decide on a plan to free themselves of their enemy, the cat. At least they wished to find some way of knowing when she was coming so they might have time to run away. Indeed, something had to be done, for they lived in such constant fear of her claws that they hardly dared stir from their dens by night or day. Can you imagine? Many plans were discussed, but none of them was thought good enough. At last, a very young mouse got up and said, I have a plan that seems very simple, but I know it will be successful. All we have to do is to hang a bell around the cat's neck. When we hear the bell ringing, we will know immediately that our enemy is coming. All the mice were much surprised that they had not thought of such a plan before. But in the midst of the rejoicing over their good fortune, an old mouse arose and said, I will say that the plan of the young mouse is very good. But let me ask one question. Who will bell the cat? And the moral of this story from Aesop is, it is one thing to say that something should be done, but quite a different matter to do it. Many people can come up with ideas that would no doubt succeed if only someone could be found to implement them, and they themselves are unwilling. There's one I remember in here that involves a bear. And I haven't read that one for a good many years. Let's see if it's among here. Let's see. No. No. Here it is. This one is called, this is Aesop's Fable, and it is called Two Travelers and a Bear. Two men were traveling in company through a forest when all at once a huge bear crashed out of the brush near them. One of the men, thinking of his own safety, climbed a tree. The other, unable to fight the savage beast alone, threw himself on the ground and lay still as if he were dead. He had heard that a bear will not touch a dead body. I wonder what bears eat. Well, that's another matter. Well, anyhow, it must have been true, for the bear snuffed at the man's head a while and then, seeming to be satisfied that he was dead, walked away. The man in the tree climbed down. It looked just as if that bear whispered in your ear, he said. What did he tell you? He said, answered the other, that it was not at all wise to keep company with a fellow who would desert his friend in a moment of danger. And Mr. Aesop leaves us with this moral at the end. It says, misfortune is the test of true friendship. I had heard another feller say that friendship is a big enough ship to carry two people in fair weather, but often only one in foul. We need to choose our friends carefully, I reckon. Let's see if there's one in here. There must be. If it's a collection, it cannot be a collection of Aesop's fables without this one. All right. Y'all don't have anywhere to go, do you? You got a moment? Good. You're not in any hurry to head off? All right. This one is called The Hare and the Tortoise. Now, when I say hare, it's not like one of these. This is a rabbit, but it's called a hare for some reason. People talked different a long time ago. And a tortoise is a turtle, of course. But you all probably already knew that. A hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. Do you ever get anywhere? He asked with a mocking laugh. Yes, replied the turtle, "and I get there sooner than you think. I'll run you a race and prove it." The hare was much amused at the idea of running a race with the tortoise, but for the fun of the thing, he agreed. So the fox, who had consented to act as judge, marked the distance and started the runners off. The hare was soon far out of sight, and to make the tortoise feel very deeply how ridiculous it was for him to try to run a race with a hare, he lay down beside the course to take a nap until the tortoise should catch up. The tortoise, meanwhile, kept going slowly but steadily, and after a time, passed the place where the hare was sleeping. But the hare slept on very peacefully. And when at last he did wake up, the tortoise was near the goal. The hare now ran his swiftest, but he could not overtake the tortoise in time. The moral at the end here: the race is not always to the swift. Or said another way, I have heard it said, slow and steady wins the race. You have to understand what your course is and hold to it, however long it may take. Well, I suppose I have been at this quite long enough, and you all probably do have someplace to get off to. So I shall return to my work. Thank you all for stopping by. It's good to see you.